All right, today we're diving into a really powerful philosophy, one that can totally reframe how you look at your past. It's a way to find some real, deep meaning in all those detours and dead ends, and yeah, even in what we might call our biggest failures.
I mean, have you ever had that feeling? It's just gut-wrenching, right? You look back on, say, a failed marriage, or a career that just kind of fizzled out, or maybe a belief you poured your heart into, and you just can't shake that thought, was all of that time, all that effort, just wasted? For nothing? Well, that's exactly the question we're getting into today.
And this quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of the matter. Think about it. Every single choice we make, every time we say yes to something, we're also saying no to 1,000 other possibilities. Every decision we make has this hidden cost. So let's break that down a bit.
Okay, so in this first part, we're really going to dig into this idea. The idea that every choice isn't just something we add to our lives, it's also a subtraction. It's like an architectural choice, right? It's building the structure of your life just as much by the things you leave out as the things you put in.
I mean, really think about it. The moment you commit to a super demanding career, you're automatically saying no to tons of other things you could be doing. The author of this philosophy actually uses his own life as an example. He was a religious leader, and he talks about keeping this mental ledger of sacrifice, where he'd kind of tally up everything he was giving up for that calling.
And we're not talking about abstract stuff here. These are real, tangible costs. Giving up time with your kids, missing out on the physical and mental boost of exercise, or even just sacrificing the simple comfort of being liked because you have to make these really tough, maybe even alienating decisions. That's the real price of commitment.
So, the big question is, what happens when you've made all these huge sacrifices, and then the thing you sacrificed for just falls apart? It's totally natural to feel crushed. But what if that whole idea, that whole concept of wasted years is just wrong? The author really struggles with this himself after his marriage has ended. And it's a question so many of us have asked ourselves, right? If the ending wasn't what I hoped for, does that mean the whole journey was just a mistake? A total waste?
The way we usually look at life is pretty simple, right? It's a journey to a destination. If you don't get there, you failed. End of story. But the author says no, wait. He calls this a spiritual optical illusion. Basically, it's a trick of the light, a trick of perspective that makes us completely miss the real point of the journey.
Okay, so if the old way of looking at it is an illusion, then what's the reality? Well, this brings us to the absolute core of this whole idea. It's called the secondary harvest theory, and it's a completely new lens to look at every single one of your life's experiences.
So here's the definition. And honestly, this is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The idea is that every single thing we do has two goals, not just one. First, there's the external outcome we're all chasing. But then, there's the internal transformation that's happening inside of us while we're on that journey.
Okay, so the primary goal, that's all the external stuff, right? The degree on the wall, the marriage that's supposed to last forever, the successful business. The truth is, we have very little control over how those things turn out. But the secondary goal, that's the good stuff. That's the person you become in the process. That is your harvest. And that is always 100% yours to keep. And this is what it looks like in a real life. So the marriage ends. Okay, but the patience and the capacity for love you developed, you get to keep that. The career path hits a dead end? Fine. But the skills and the resilience you forged along the way, that's part of you now. The external thing might crumble, but your internal integrity, what you've built inside, that stays. That is your secondary harvest.
And this all leads us to the ultimate payoff of thinking this way. It completely redefines what we see as our most valuable asset. It's not the resume, it's not the bank account, it's not our relationship status, it's something so much deeper. Because according to this philosophy, the only thing of true, lasting, permanent value that we build in this life is our character. Who we become through it all, that's the entire point. So if that's true, if who we become is the real goal, then it means that building your character is the one project in your life that can never, ever be a waste of time, period.
All those struggles, all those failures and painful endings, they weren't for nothing. They were the fire, the forge, that welded these timeless virtues right onto your spirit. We're talking about resilience, empathy, wisdom, grit. This is the stuff you're actually made of.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do we make it practical? How do we actually apply this idea to our day-to-day lives? Well, the author gives us a really simple, beautiful example to think about.
So when he goes for a walk, he says there are two things happening at once. The pursuit, which is the primary goal, is pretty obvious. It's for his heart, his lungs, physical exercise. But the harvest, the secondary goal, is the peace that walk brings to his soul. Every single thing we do can have this kind of dual purpose, if we just choose to look for it.
And this next line, man, it just ties everything together so perfectly. We aren't here to build perfect lives. We're here to build perfectible spirits. It's not about a flawless track record of wins. The real goal is to build a spirit that can learn and grow and endure anything.
So I'll leave you with this question. You're not here to build a perfect life. So as you look back on your own journey with all of its incredible twists and turns, what will you harvest for your perfectible spirit? What are the strengths, the virtues, the little pieces of wisdom that are now yours to keep forever? Thinking about that, well, it might just change how you see everything.